All right, here we go. All right, boys. Well, I hope everyone can hear me. I am just discovering I am the world's shittiest audio engineer, but here we are. Welcome to the first edition of Between Your Ears. I'm your boy JT. If you're here, you probably know me either from a fantasy league or you know me in real life. And I appreciate all my dogs in here right now. I'm not going to do too many intros, just assuming everybody here already kind of knows me. And just going to jump into it. If you're here, I appreciate the support. If you're a new friend that stumbles into this, I'm sorry for the clusterfuck, but we're going to get through this together. Shout out to my road dog, fantasy shot caller, Ben. Appreciate you here. I'll give you 8 woos throughout it. Here's one. Woo! As I broke everybody's eardrums. My boy JL Khan, my boy Daniel Brickner, my compadre in Pancho Coimbre Baseball League. Shout out to anyone from there coming in. So just really quickly, I'm gonna do a real quick rundown on what we're gonna do. Probably go around the sports world real quick. And the main thing here is we're going to talk about sports. We're going to try to stay apolitical about things. I'll be doing game recaps, breakdowns, gambling advice for my degenerates, fantasy advice, and also just kind of like translating what headlines really mean, because I feel like, ESPN, Fox News, it's kind of clickbaity and doesn't give us accurate reads on stuff. And shout out Melinda. Um, and just trying to translate what's being said in between the lines, hence between your ears. And sometimes it'll just be me, like right now. And but hopefully we'll have a lot of guests. And on that note, I'm going to be bringing in our first ever guest. Boom, Mr. AJ Lisi.
Total facial right there.
Yeah, right.
So,
I hope I didn't blow that one. So not gonna get into too many spiels here. We'll just kind of like jump into it. You know what's gonna suck about this a little bit? Anything we say here is gonna be used against us in the league.
as if it isn't already.
Yeah, right. So just gonna kind of go into a quick wild card weekend recap. We kind of mostly saw.
Was that Big Blue long overdue?
I was gonna say mostly favorites.
Yeah.
Your boy kind of cleaned up. I thought the Giants were the easiest underdog to see there against the Vikings. The Vikings, we just kind of like, I don't think point differential is everything, but certainly like in that aspect, like we saw like the Vikings were kind of, I don't want to say fraudulent because that's not fair. You got to win the games, but you did. You saw in their wins that stuff isn't sustainable against heightened competition. And when we get to the playoffs, we get to playoffs, it's definitely like that's what it is. And I think it was a matchup of coach of the year candidates, and we saw Daboll is a little bit more ready in adjustments than what O'Connell is. And I think I still think O'Connell will probably be a good head coach overall, but he's still kind of better OC than head coach right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the jury's still out on him. I just think, what Daboll's doing with, he's doing so much more with less to pick guys up off the practice squad and put them in as key contributors. When you talk about the Vikings, it actually reminds me a lot of the Jack Del Rio Raiders. Like, I hate to keep bringing up Derek Carr, but like when he was like money at that time, and it was just like they were winning every single game, but like one score or less, it was just live or die going for it on fourth down, jump ball to Michael Crabtree, whatever it was. And, it's nice for headlines. It makes interesting games, but it is really hard to sustain that. I forget like the specific stat, but there was like partially it involves Daniel Jones because of just what a cupcake schedule he's had this year. And then just, the icing on the cake was just to do that to the Vikings twice. So he played really well. And, but just like, it seems like every every quarterback that's kind of had shaky performances throughout either their career or the season, the Vikings are always a get right game. They're such a soft defense. They play high. They let a lot of stuff underneath. And even like from the very beginning, week one, when they played Philly, I was like, okay, if this defense doesn't adjust, this is going to be a problem because they allow everything underneath and they have a hard time slamming the door. It's a very Green Bay Packers defense in that way.
Yeah. Jumping through. So we saw a lot of favorites there, and we got that epic comeback from the Jags. I don't understand how Staley still has a job.
Yeah.
And we already touched that. Let's jump into. I don't want to touch too much on the past. I want to see what's going on moving forward here. And you want to do Cowboys Niners first? That's what I got first on the docket.
I am here to facilitate. You run the show.
So we saw both teams. They're both coming off dominant victories here, and these are two teams that I think have kind of laid eggs in certain moments. Just to expand on this, JL is definitely right about us just being an open book in that league, but we are in other leagues where we're not as friendly. But yeah, I love our league. That's probably my favorite league where we just.
I don't think that's a stretch.
Yeah, no. I don't think home leagues should count. There's too much rapport there, but it's basically I think it's replaced my home league in chat. I mean, we talk in there all day.
Definitely.
But anyway, so we got two teams here, the Cowboys and Niners here, where one of these teams have to break through this year. Like, if they don't win this year, I think it's gonna be tough for them. Their windows are now. There is no tomorrow. You could probably argue maybe the Niners have a little bit more of an open window, but I don't really feel that. I think, with an off season of reviewing Purdy tape, I think he's not going to be undefeated. So both these teams kind of got to win now. Just kind of going into it, the Cowboys coming into the Bucs game, kind of laid an egg against Washington. The line was 3.5 against Tampa, which I thought was kind of, I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird where it's like, are people really that scared? Like, are Dallas fans really that scared Tom Brady with this 8-9 Bucs team is really going to beat them? I get it's in Tampa, typical road edge, but I really thought that line was kind of out of whack there. And I'm not surprised that the Cowboys absolutely eviscerated this Bucs team. We could talk about them in a different podcast. This is meant for just teams that are still here. We'll talk about Tom Brady and where he'll be next year. I guess quickly, do you have a team in mind you think Brady's playing for next year?
He might be playing from the couch, but
you're going to retire.
He could. I don't think that's. I mean, the dust just settled. If I've got to just like pick one, like the easiest connect the dots is to the Raiders, just to go back to McDaniels. McDaniels knows him inside and out. With Carr moving on, that's like a safe one. I've toyed with some other ones. I think for maximum damage, I would always want to see him go to the Jets so he could torture Patriots fans with a competent roster and a Shanahan offense. But it's hard to say right now.
I got a complete upset that no one's talking about.
Let me hear it.
I say if Snyder sells, he'll be in Washington with Peyton.
Ooh. That is a storm. I
think that has gotten no traction. I think
what point does Washington garner any kind of good traction at all? So if you're going to have somebody competent in there,
I think Brady in that offense. Why not? Young defense. It's kind of the same Tampa template. The only problem there, Rivera is the biggest impediment there. They did fire their OC. I think if they can sell that team, if Jeff Bezos buys Washington, he can afford Sean Payton. And if you're getting Tom Brady, that's your first round pick. So fuck it. You ship it.
You can go from FedEx Field to Amazon Prime Field.
Boom. And, play exclusively on Thursday.
Top dog. Yeah.
But I wanted to make that I just don't understand how that's not getting anything. They're not Sam Howell. I'm probably the biggest Sam. We might be the Sam Howell fan club here.
Yeah, I've
That
got like
might be it.
60% ownership or something like that. Ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, he was basically free in the drafts, and it was the easiest thing in the world to say I don't like Carson Wentz. So
We got we got our first question from my boy, the shot caller. Which player has to get shut down by the Cowboys defense in order for them to win?
uh,
I mean, that's. I feel like that's self-explanatory. I know the name. You know the name. He lived on Tom Brady's back in the wild card weekend. It's definitely Micah Parsons. That's going to be. Can Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey win that? Can they take the edge away there? And we'll get it. I have a whole.
it's which player has to get shut down by the Cowboys defense. So which Niner needs to be
Oh
taken out
wow!
of
I
the game
completely
plan.
missed reading.
Yeah.
Not we're only good for talking here. Um, from the Niners, I don't think you can shut down the Niner offense per se. I think it's just you're gonna. I was saying in Gen Chat before. I was saying, Purdy was missing some throws against Seattle. I really don't think that. I think his stats are kind of like a little fool's gold. There's a little red herring there. He was missing a lot of throws. He missed high and over the middle way too many times to Ayuk. I think he got lucky on some throws. I really I counted 3 interceptions when I went back on tape and watched it, and it's kind of been throughout that win streak. I know he's 7-0 or whatever, but I don't think they've really played anyone. No playoff teams in this stretch. Certainly no top 10 defenses. So I just think this is going to be a step up. And if the Cowboys can force them into obvious passing situations, I think the interception opportunities will be there. Now, will the Cowboys capitalize? Who fucking knows? They're defensive backs for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, if I've got to pin one guy that you need to like pin down on the Niners, I almost just straight up want to see Brandon Ayuk. Just because of how he can kind of cross with the Debo role with the underneath stuff and really move the chains, but he's the real the lid lifter that really makes them scary. So it's not to take any shine off of Debo or CMC, but like all 3 of those pieces going together, I think their best chance is gonna do their best, buckle up that chin strap. And, everybody's talking about, playoff football is a different type of football. And I think you just got to man up and do the best you can, keep things in front of you. I think if they can just get pressure on Purdy, he's really like reflexive in the pocket. There's a lot of room for chaos there. Like, if Mike and company can get after it, I think they'll get home. That Niners line is not nearly as good as it's been in years past when they're just completely unstoppable. But you got to knock them off schedule. And the only thing that's going to win this game is a patient game. And you can't allow big bombs over the top to Ayuk and Debo by proxy.
Yeah. JL Khan helping me out here with the next gen stats. That's our next gen stat expert. Again, another shout out. My bad, Ben. AJ's here to clean up my illiteracy. And we got Jared,
Big Ocean,
my guy, Jared Big Ocean. This guy picked up fantasy. I think Jared picked up fantasy like 4 years ago, and his knowledge level is on peer with guys like us who have been playing for forever. He's the literal best, and if you're in a league with Jared, you're much better for it. Just don't try to trade with him. He'll Bill Cosby you once in a while. Trying to work this out. I am not a good audio engineer here. Here's shout out to JL Khan. I did think it was spicy, and I do think that it should get way more press. But it's just Snyder. Snyder he's the guy.
So I mean, like burning draft capital is what Washington does. So that's not an impediment having to throw a first round pick. They do that like every other year. So
Brady
That'll
will
work.
not go there if Snyder's there. So that's
Right.
definitely not.
Yeah, bombs from Kittle. Yeah, I don't know.
You got it, Jared. You're the best, except in trades. Yeah, so basically how I have this game going, man. So what I really think Tampa missed the missed opportunity that they have had. We know that Dallas right now, their D line is just really left lacking heft, and they have to compensate that with run blitzing. So that's the biggest issue here. Will San Francisco emphasize the run? Can they get out to a lead? I think whoever gets out to the lead first in this game is going to win the game, and it's vital for Dallas to get out to a lead. I think they almost need to be winning by 4 points at halftime if they really want to have a shot here. If you look at, again, I'm going to say this probably a million times, looking at this Niner win streak with Purdy, they're not that great of a first half team. They're not. I mean, even against Arizona, like they're not. Shanahan is obviously a magician at the half and whatever he's doing adjustment wise, but they leave a lot to be desired in the first half. I mean, just look at this last game against Seattle. I know it's 41-23, but this game was way closer than that at the half.
Yeah, it was like, was it like 17-16 or something like that at the half?
Seattle took the lead because I don't know who called the squib kick. We're gonna blame Shanahan. It might have been the special teams coordinator, but just boot the bitch. What are you doing? And then on top of it, you have fucking Tart. I don't know what happened there.
Was that the late hit? It was.
Yeah, I don't know what was going. Like, you had some Niner fans going like, "Oh, he was just trying to send a message." Like, for what? You just gave up.
Here's free points. Make this game interesting. I got money.
Yeah, I don't. If that happens, I think Dallas has a way better team, and they will take advantage of that.
Yeah. Just you had mentioned the like the pace of this game is definitely going to pretty much dictate, which is kind of like it sort of means nothing out of context, but to your point about the Dallas needing to run blitz because they don't have the meat in the middle to last 60 minutes with the most dominant offense, rushing offense in the league. The problem though is that when you think dominant rushing offense for the Niners, they're also just so finesse. They have so many cans and checks into different looks. So again, you're putting that in Purdy's hand, but you're also, letting the players on the line dictate some of those blocks and adjustments. Kittle and Juszczyk do that a lot, but they can almost bait out those checks when you're baiting those run blitzes, and you can the framework is there for them to literally just skirt around any run blitz because you can't do that the same way on defense with their play with the players that they have. So, and the reason that they're so good in the second half is because eventually you get worn out and then that run starts kicking. It's going to be, that's why I said, they need to knock the Niners off schedule, because if they don't, eventually that run game is going to take over in the second half, and that's game.
Yeah, that's what Shanahan wants to do there, and it's going to be imperative on the Cowboys offense to keep that defense off the field, because it does have holes, at least from a run defense perspective. I highlighted it, but yeah, just boot that bitch. How many times do I yell that?
Just take the points.
Yeah, just take the points, man. It drives me nuts. Any NFL team out there, I think I have like 7 viewers right now. Maybe one of them's an NFL executive, but you could hire me for about I don't know, maybe about what's a fair price? $35 an hour for a game, and I'll just be on the phone ready to tell.
That's a bargain for them.
Whoever the fuck is there, like, hey, take the points in the first half. Stop going for 2. Or stop going.
Hey, that's a catch-22 though, because if you just take the points when they're safe, we don't get Trevor Lawrence coming back against the.
That was all in the second half, sir. That was all in the second half.
Yes, and you also, all right, fine.
I'm tired of it in the first half not taking the points. Worry about coming back in the second half when you can make adjustments and go for it. That you got to take a look. I don't understand why teams don't do this. I'm with you. I'm an advocate for going for it on 4th down. But I want to have a half to know what you're going to do in those situations, not go in blind and just be like, oh, I hope this fucking play works.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I think that what gets lost in that conversation, without going on too much of a tangent, is just like the decision and the play you run are 2 very different things. So when you watch a guy like Staley, you're like, all right, I don't know if I would go for here, but I respect the aggressive decision to do so. And then he's running dive on 4th and 2 with Austin Eckler. Like, that's not a play.
Yeah.
That's just not a play that you have to be able to differentiate. So then when you see a properly schemed, planned, designed 4th and 1 on, Travis Etienne when they've sealed that game against the Chargers, that's the difference. And there's different circumstances, but the play call is probably even more important than the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not a pro Brandon Staley podcast, sir.
No, it's not.
Yep, I'm here for timeouts as well. I'll throw that in for an extra $10 an hour. But that's probably, I'll save that for Andy Reid, because I'm pretty sure he's going to fuck up some kind of timeout thing against.
It's been a while since we've had Reid, playoff Reid.
Yeah. So getting back to Cowboys Niners, I'm going to go. It's plus 3.5. Cowboys are plus 3.5 on the road. Kind of a standard line here. Both teams have blown teams out. Both teams have kind of had clunkers against competition. This is like the ultimate, like, both teams play to their competition each on a weekly basis. So we have no idea what's going to happen here. Both are Niners won 13 games. I think the Cowboys won 12. I think the Cowboys had the easier game here playing the Bucks. And that leads me to another segue. I think if a division winner is under 500, they shouldn't automatically make the playoffs. Like, you can't tell me the Lions. You can't tell me the Lions wouldn't have been a better game against the Cowboys than the Bucks. You know what I mean? The Lions were 9-8. And I'm for division winners. I think division winners matter, but it's just kind of like, you're 8-9. Why? Because your division should be penalized. If you're not above 500, no automatic bid to me. And
that would solve a lot of the 7th wild card game debates as well. If there was like a relegation system where that trumped, that would be a solution. But
I don't think it's too much to ask to be above 500 to be in the playoffs. I don't think that's that big of an ask. That'll take us down a rabbit hole. I think realignment is necessary for, like, why the fuck are the Cowboys in the East? Makes no sense. Why are the Dolphins? The Dolphins should be in the AFC South. I could get into a whole tangent there, but that'll be a different podcast. And Jared beat me to it, but I'm definitely taking Cowboys plus 3.5 in this game. I think the Niners are due for a clunker. I think Purdy's due. I think there's familiarity there. Dan Quinn has an idea of what Shanahan wants to do from his time in Seattle. Also, fun fact, Kyle Shanahan was on Dan Quinn's staff in Atlanta for that unso fateful Super Bowl. I think we're going to see a little revenge here for Quinn against Shanahan. That's a subplot that gets no publicity, and I think it's fascinating. Like, we have Dan Quinn here who can get exacted revenge on the OC that cost him a Super Bowl win. That sounds great. That sounds great to me. I think there's a difference in level of competition we're going to see. I think Purdy will be mortal. I'm definitely taking the 3.5 on the Cowboys. And I might just say, I think there's value. They're straight up right now. They're plus 172 on the money line. And I'm not going so far to pick them to win. I'm going to stop short there because I think it could be whoever has ball last wins here. But this is definitely going to be a field goal match. And I also have it as probably the best matchup this weekend.
I'm surprised you didn't mention the kicker that was almost jettisoned off the face of the earth last week. And that would be something that I would be very worried about trying to cover if I'm picking the Cowboys.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there will be much field goal kicking.
I don't think there was very many field goals to be kicked in the game that he kicked 400 points.
So what do you do? Do you kick the extra point? Say the Cowboys get the ball. They go down the field. They elect to receive. They score. First score. You kick an extra point or going for 2?
I think I give him one shot. And if he shanks it, 2 all day.
I think it would be game flow dependent for me. Like, if they say they hit like CeeDee Lamb on a play action 50-yard bomb, I'd be like, all right, get out there, Maher. But if I had like an 11 play drive and I've proven I can run it right down their throats, I might go for 2 there just to do it. So could be kind of game flow there. Ben has an opinion.
I'm saying.
Not wrong, not wrong. And shout out, here we go. We got another entrant, Ewok.
Is that Ewok?
You can find him on Twitch at Ewok Village on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. That is a shameless plug. That's our first plug that we've done. And we'll continue to do them. We can be bought. We can be bought. Yeah. You got plus 3.5. Where are you going there?
I'm taking the Niners. When things are running on all cylinders.
Are you taking them straight or are you taking the spread?
I would take the spread.
You're taking them minus 3.5? Maher's got you shook that much?
Yeah. Like I said, when they're running on all cylinders, it's just they have answers for the answers that everybody already has. And Dallas is just I've made a lot of
I completely
money.
I've
made a lot of money as well as quite a bit of confidence betting against the NFC Chargers, unfortunately.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if, given the Cowboys' history, I don't know. This is just win streaks end, and I get that it's on the road, but it's just the Purdy factor for me. And I think Dan Quinn's familiarity will come into play here. If you put a gun to my head, I'm going to go upset here. I'll take the Cowboys, which feels disgusting in so many ways. But McCarthy and Shanahan, they're both liable for like inexplicable decisions and losses. We'll see. Going on to the rematch of the game that never was. Bills Bengals.
Yep.
You take the lead on this one because I'm kind of firm where I'm at on this one.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 sec. Hold on. Yeah. We gotta
see that.
on to the Cowboys if they lose this week. I put that at less than 1%.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation. I'm sure we got a whole offseason for that, but where do we think he's going to fall in the NFL draft is going to be something to speculate at, and they will be in range. They will.
I don't think that he makes it that far. I think he's going to be a top 15 selection. And had another bold take that I think we might want to segue into before we get into Bills Bengals. J.K. Dobbins, top 7 PPR running back in 2023.
That is tough. Top 7 is where you get me. Top 7 because you are going to have not only such a crazy influx of youth in this draft, but we've been completely shown up this year from all those vets between the ages of 25 and 27. They balled out this year. And that's a cramped area for top 7, but it's bold. I like it.
I mean, it's hard to judge running backs at all when you have Lat Murray putting up viable games. He was startable in a lot of weeks and just seeing where the league is, but it's on its value. It just comes down to health on its face. Like you probably want to be like, what? No, but what do you look for in a running back? You look for a strong offensive line. The Ravens perennially have like a top 5 rushing offense. It's bold in the sense that it's no longer Greg Roman. Who's going to be the OC? That's a big caveat there. I am a betting man. I'm not going to say if I'm a betting man, but if I had to take a line on this, I would probably guess that Dobbins, I'd say he'll be our RB1, but not top 7. And I don't think Lamar's there next year. So I think that only helps
Yeah, I'll
Dobbins.
be looking forward to that discussion.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh
to
yeah.
get back to Bills
Bills
Bengals,
Bengals.
you know, it's I don't think it's a stretch to say that with all the injuries on the Bengals line, it might actually be worse this playoff round than it was when Burrow got sacked 9 times in the championship game against the Titans and they still won. It's going to be rough. I mean, the Bills are not, thankfully for the Bengals, they don't have Von Miller, but they can still get after it. McDermott is tried and true, and you're just gonna have to put up points with Allen. There's dangers to his game. He's turning the ball over a lot lately, but there's highs to those lows, and if they can't get Burrow breathing room, it's gonna be a difficult day for them.
Looks like Ben's getting a little bit of love there from Jared for the Dobbins take. I'm with you on a top 12 season, but top 7, too bold for me. But like you said, this for me, it comes down to it's going to be the Bengals O line versus the Bills secondary. That's the key matchup to me. That's the X factor here. In the quarter of play that we have to dissect, which again we both know not that much, but that's what we have right now. And what we saw was Tre'Davious White very rusty, and it looked like those chase vertical shots were there. What's changed? There's no Jonah Williams now. There's no Alex. It's Alex Kappa, right? I know his
Yep.
last name is Kappa. He's out. You have Lel Collins still out. They've had a little bit of time to make that adjustment, but those are 3 massive losses for an O line that was already kind of mediocre in a lot of sense. And the Bills, they're without Micah Hyde. They've been without him most of the year. They lost his replacement, obviously, in DeMar Hamlin. And I think that kind of gets kind of like swept under the rug. Yes, absolute catastrophe. We're glad that he's alive. But there is a football component here where he's off the field and he was a solid contributor. The guy was a starter. He is a player. He is a valuable component to that defense, and that has to be accounted for. His backup got hurt, I think. They're on their 3rd string safety going against Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. It's not what you want there. So looking at that, can their O-line hold up enough so they can take those vertical shots against a compromised Bills secondary here? The Bills have to pray Jordan Poyer plays, because if he doesn't play, I think this line changes. It's -5.5 right now for Bills, which taking 5 points against Burrow, that can never feel good. But and then on top of it, like you said, Josh Allen with he's been turnover prone. He's a high risk, high reward kind of guy versus Lou Anarumo's defense. I don't know, man. I just don't see much in that secondary that kind of scares me when I have Stephon Diggs, playoff Gabe, Beasley made a, Mr. COVID, Mr. COVID told Beasley.
Yeah.
COVID Beasley made a comeback. He made his presence known against the Dolphins. I think that gives them like a 3rd down security blanket. I don't know, man. I just really, I was really high on the Bengals coming into the playoffs, but that game against the Ravens just kind of put me completely off.
You want to talk about streaks? When you bring up the Bengals defense, that's probably one of the reasons why I would take the Bengals, is because they are still, especially like the secondary specifically, is completely unsung, and that coverage shell is so opportunistic. They got meaningful snaps out of Eli Apple. Okay.
Oh,
They
my
have
God.
like Mike Hilton was a huge, like a lot of what the Bills do to
Hilton's
like
been
get
good,
themselves out of a jam is a lot of slot stuff. And you can't get away with that the same way you can when you have Mike Hilton. Diggs really hasn't been hiding too much in the slot as it is. But I mean, they are an opportunistic defense, and if Allen is gonna get in a shootout with Burrow. I think because the Bills secondary is very compromised and he's just confident throwing go balls to T and to Chase. I think that's a losing battle if it becomes a shootout, and that's why I think it's the Bengals.
Wow, I have it completely different. I have it different. I think if this game trends towards the under, I like the Bengals more. If it goes over, I have the Bills. Just because that would force the Bengals into obvious passing situations. And the metrics don't look great against, with the Bills pass rush minus Von Miller. But I feel like they're going to figure that out. I think Milano is a good blitzer. I think he's getting a lot of national recognition now finally, but we've known for a while that guy's a baller. You got Edmonds there. I think they have enough I think the Bills pass rush is better than the Bengals O-line right now. And
for sure.
Sounds like you're going Bengals. Are you taking them straight up? You're taking them straight?
I don't know. I would take him. 5 is a lot.
5.5?
When you're 5.5. But when you're talking about like the game that I'm thinking that might happen, because I mean, even if you remember like watching like how terrible the Steelers were last year with Big Ben, like they were still able to throw a lot of go balls, even if he was terrible at them. That arsenal is still available to Burrow. You can kind of throw them off of a 3 or 5 step. The timing is weird, but if there's one duo that I trust more in the NFL to go run a go route, it's Burrow Chase. And I think that take it off already. I keep doing it. Yeah. But I just if the Bills are going to try to get into a shootout, which by all intents that was exactly what Josh Allen wanted to do against the Miami Dolphins. They had no reason to do that, in my opinion, and they almost let the Dolphins back in that game. So if that's the type of game that the Bills want to play against the Bengals, I think that's something scary, and that's what I think they're going to do. If they're going to play it patient, I think that favors them because the Bengals don't have the offensive line to control the game in the way that the Bills do. Because you get Josh Allen booting out, you get him, QB draw. There's a lot of stuff you can do that's just not on the table for the Bengals.
I think the one component that hasn't been said here, and Ewok might want to cover his ears here. How confident do you feel about Zach Taylor versus Sean McDermott?
I have given Zach Taylor a lot of crap because I just felt like he was like a no value add. I felt like, that it was going to harm this offensive core in the long run, but they seem to be doing all right. I'm liking a lot of the adjustments that they make. I like that I'm not seeing a lot of the same bad habit stuff where we're just running Joe Mixon into the left guard's ass 15 times a game. They're willing to adjust. They're willing to do things, not only just to cater to Burrow, but to actually serve, the greater offensive plan. And it's no shade on McDermott and it's no shade on Frazier, but again, if you're going to go and swing into this game, you better be playing a patient game because Joe Burrow will knock you out.
Well, I think much like the color scheme to our podcast right now, unintentionally Bills colors. Yeah, it's not Giants colors. I just want to let you know this is a Buffalo Bills podcast.
Yeah, very suspicious transplant of you to do that.
I have it tattooed that's my go-to protection. That's my crutch. I think Jared's got this right. That's kind of where I'm at. Bengals cover, but the Bills win straight up. I'm not even really confident about Bengals cover here. I really think
I'm not either.
I think the Bills can. I just think they had their scare. You know what I mean? I think that Dolphins game kind of reinforced them that, hey, we're not invincible here. We got to play. And while I do have concerns that Waddle and Tyreek, those shots were there. If Waddle makes some of those catches, which people are like, oh, he should have caught them. Those are fucking difficult catches. I don't care what anyone says. It wasn't like there was no one near him and they weren't contested. They're difficult plays. Those are plays that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins can make. But I think the big difference there is Miami has a good O-line. Cincinnati does not right now. They don't have a Terran Armstead booking the ends. And like JL Khan says here, I do think I think Russo and Basham get there. I got the
Yeah,
Bills.
you don't have to be solid. That's the thing. You don't have to be solid to get home against these guys.
I'm going as far as I think the Bills are a lock. I'm going that far.
Okay.
And this is someone who has gone with the Bengals. I've made, thank you, Joe Burrow. I took a lot of points on them throughout the year, but I think this is where the chinks in the armor are too big now. And sorry, Ewok, it's going to be a Bills week. And I think, I mean, look, Josh Allen probably is looking at the Daniel Jones tape against Minnesota and is like, 17 rushes, I'm going to run it 18 times. What do we got here? Oh, a little bit, maybe a little too much. This game will come down to the trenches. I don't think we're going to see a lot of runs here.
Nope. This is going to be
I think both
throw in
45 plus. Yeah, 50 plus time game. I don't think either of them do that. I think they're going to have to throw to win. Same, bud. Same, buddy. All right. So are we in agreement there? Bengals cover, Bills win.
Yeah.
We're kind of iffy on that Bengals cover though. I could see this turning into a 31-20 affair. That's the problem with that line.
Right. And that's what I'm expecting. And that's why you're going to easily clear that if we're getting the game that I think we might get.
Would you rather go the over? I think the over.
Yes, 100%. I would take the over. Yeah.
The over under is, I think, 51. I think
over.
Right now it might have gone down. It might be 50.5 right now. I think I'd feel better about the over there than I would anything else. All right. Now the Cardiac Cats versus the 1 seed Chiefs. Kind of a fraudulent 1 seed, I think. It should be the Bills.
I'm over it. I never thought it was all that unfair to anybody. It's an unfair situation. You're not going to please everybody. I thought it worked out all right.
I think they did the best with what they could.
Right.
Oh wow! I didn't even talk about that. Wow, I missed a lot of my notes on Niners Cowboys. We'll have to save that for tomorrow or another pod. But fun. I'll just briefly mention it. We talked about Quinn versus Shanahan. How about a battle of head coaching candidates?
Yeah, the master versus the apprentice.
Well, Kellen Moore versus D'Amico Ryans here.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the Chiefs game.
Oh, no. I just saw the note. I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah. That's crazy. Do you think is that like a hey, I beat D'Amico Ryans, I should get this head coaching job, or vice versa? There, you think they use that in interviews?
I think Kellen is really not all that sought after. I'm sure someone would give him a shot, but with how you can't sit here and preach confidence in Kellen when all we see is the roller coaster from Dallas every single year, and you're going to wear some of that blame. McCarthy's going to wear some of that blame. I don't think he's quite as shiny. I think if he was going to get a job, it would have been after that year or two ago.
Gotcha. My immediate score for Bills Bengals after watching the tape on both of them was 38-34 Bills.
Yeah, say over.
Yeah, I think that was before they have no O-line though, so might shift that down a little bit. All right, Chiefs Jags. I feel like we were robbed of Chiefs Chargers 3, which I think is a significantly better matchup. I think the Chargers aren't. There's no mystique about the Chargers playing the Chiefs. They play them 2 times a year. All those games kind of come down to the last possession. I do think there's something tangibly different going into Arrowhead in the playoffs versus the regular season. I think some of that's mitigated with the Chargers going in there. That being said, Sean Payton should be their coach, but looks like the Chargers are going to go the cheap route and keep Staley. So question here, can the Jags go in and do the unthinkable? Which Jaguars are we going to get? First half or second half? They played 2 months ago, so that kind of has to be factored in. But I feel like both teams are completely different now, even though it's 2 months ago. The Jags were 3-7 at that point. The Chiefs were 7-2, just about to go into their kind of like I'm bored malaise, where like they don't really feel like being there. They make uncharacteristic mistakes and they can't cover. For their last 9 games against the spread, they're 1-7-1. I didn't look at the updated line here, but it's basically based off of their previous matchup. They won 27-17. The line was -9.5. I love Doug Peterson. I think it was ridiculous how he got treated in Philly. I thought it was even more ridiculous when the Jags hired Urban Meyer over him. Luckily, they corrected it a year later. But I have this 45-27 Chiefs, and I don't think it's going to be that competitive.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're just going to be. These are two teams that are just on completely different spectrums. Maybe in 3 or 4 years, we can talk about, Trevor Lawrence leading a Jaguars team that's kind of on this trajectory that the Chiefs have grown and maintained. But
Sooner.
Sooner? Yeah,
Sooner.
100%. Yeah. It's just this them beating the Chargers says more about them than it does about the Chargers in a way, but it also is just kind of like setting the table to like, we're going to be back. There's not going to be a one-off AFC Championship loss against the Patriots this time. They don't have the horses to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. As great as Trevor Lawrence is, there's just still a lot he hasn't seen, and Spags is a really tricky defensive coordinator.
Yep. This is his time of the year.
Yeah, he has always done more with less on the defensive side, and that's basically the long and the short of what the Chiefs' defense has been. Chris Jones is definitely somebody that is going to make a pretty solid Jaguars offensive line look a little shaky at times. He ended the year on a bang in the regular season.
Yep.
He's had a couple weeks off, and he's going to tear these guys apart up front. And I mean, it's just, what else can you say? This is not that.
The Chiefs are healthy. Andy Reid is, I don't think he's undefeated, but he's pretty damn close to it coming off a bye. They're at home. I think the Jags won their Super Bowl. In terms of like comeback victories, after watching that game, I watched that entire game, shockingly. It felt a lot like the Vikings versus the Colts, where it was just like,
it was a very specific team that needed to allow a comeback like that, and the Chiefs are just not that team. They're not.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence throws 4 picks in the first half. There is no comeback.
No.
I think Spags,
there's no comeback.
I just think full health Chiefs coming off a bye at home. This is going to be their only home playoff game. If things shake out as we think, if the Bengals win, they do get to play at home next week. But let's assume that, the Bills win. This is going to be their only home playoff game. They will be up for it. And I just love Dougie P. But this is a lock for me. I think the Chiefs win. And there could be some backdoor cover action here, but I'm even taking the Chiefs on the spread here.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, Chiefs by 10 at home. I just could be a backdoor cover, but I just don't see it. I just the biggest, I think, a little next gen action here. I think the Jaguars were like 12th or 11th in a pass rush win rate. The Chiefs are 4th in pass block win rate. So the only way the Jaguars have a shot is if they could collapse the pocket, and that Chiefs O-line is the best in the business to me. All right. Now for you New Yorkers watching and the guy repping the sweater, we got Philly versus the Giants. Eagles are favored -7.5 here, and floor is yours.
It's not enough. Again, as much shine as we've seen from Daniel Jones, definitely want him back more than I did maybe 12, 18 months ago. But this is very much the NFC version of the game we just covered. Not that the Eagles have been as explosive over the second half as if they were their first half, arguably. But I just think there's a whole host of depth to the roster that the Giants are going to go up against, and they're going to hold their own, but it's going to be very difficult to shut down the number of playmakers. Just Jalen Hurts coming back and healthy again. They're very multiple in what they can do on offense and defense. Giants will play small ball, but again, I'm probably not quite as high of a score as what you're talking about, like in the 40s for Kansas City, but I definitely think it's like a 27-17 type deal.
Ben has this as a trap game, and JL Khan, you're more than welcome to join. I have more than enough invites.
Yeah,
you're free to join us if you please. So I want to give some love to the Giants before we shit on them.
Okay.
I think Daboll is the coach of the year. Before I finish that, we have in the flesh our boy.
Hold on, guys. I'm having some audio issues on my end, so I'm gonna jump out real quick and I'm gonna come back.
All right.
It's mostly that I can't hear you guys.
Okay, got you. We'll be here. But that being said, I'm excited about that. So what I think here, man, I think Daboll is the best coach in the league. I'm ready to proclaim that. I think he's
pretty freaking good.
I think he's the best, and I know that's it's his first year or whatever. I just think what he's done this year. This is like, to me, this is a 5 or 6 win team. I don't think that they have any business winning this many games. I think the Giants' path to victory here. I'm gonna let JL back in real quick. I think the Giants' path to victory here is kind of straightforward. I think if they can score 30, they can win. If they don't score 30, I don't think they got a shot in hell. And the biggest thing about the Eagles, they get Lane Johnson back, and we can attribute their offensive struggles kind of primarily to that. It's kind of linear, where it's like, oh, hey, offense started to suck. What happened? Lane Johnson's out. But we're happy to have you, JL. Floor's yours.
Yeah, so I told this to AJ before. I think the Giants actually have a better shot of upsetting the Eagles than the Cowboys do the Niners. And I know that sounds crazy coming from a Cowboys fan, and I am fairly confident that the Cowboys can have a good showing against the Niners. But my reasoning for Giants over Eagles, or I shouldn't say necessarily over, but I think it's going to be a much closer game than people realize. I know he's saying 7.5. It's not enough. But I really think that the emergence of Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau over the second half of the Giants, and I know Lane Johnson is back, but I don't know if Lane Johnson is actually going to be 100%.
Full participant. Full participant.
I still don't buy it, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel you. I understand. I
don't buy it. I'm sorry to say it, I just don't. If they would have, I think if he would have had another game before this to test it out and go, and I could have seen it, then I would buy it.
Jared, whoever you want to invite, this is meant to be fun. JL, you are probably the most rational Cowboys fan that I know.
100%.
I'm with you on the. I think I'm not with AJ on that one. After watching the film, I had Eagles 27-23. I think this game is going to be kind of I think the Eagles will get out to an early lead, and I think there will be a false sense of security there, and I think we'll see a furious fourth quarter from the Giants. I could see this being, like almost like 24-10 going into the fourth quarter, and then the Giants make it a really, really tight game.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, since you bring it up, we do watch divisional games, maybe a little close than we do some of the other games. The Eagles, when
they've
they
only
have
really
that
played
lead,
once. They played once,
right,
and it was
right.
48-22 or some
Right.
nonsensical score. But I think we'll all say that that's a completely. They're going to play 3 times in a calendar in a month.
Yep.
In a month, that's
yeah. When you watch the Eagles, the thing to watch is like how much the teams blitz Jalen Hurts. I mean, we blitzed the crap out of him, and it really didn't matter the first time. But on the whole, if you can throw them off, if you can get in their face and shake them off, they will turtle up a little bit. They will kind of just go into damage control, and they just try to play that slow game. Trust the line, keep it 4 downs when you can. So that is the opportunity. It's just, at what point do we capitalize on that? Because we're staring down a loaded barrel of revenge game for Bradbury plus Darius Slay. It's tough to just see the X's and O's as to it's if it happens, it's all Daboll, but that's been the story of the entire offseason or the entire season. So
yeah, go.
Oh, well, I was going to say, it's interesting you bring up Slay and Bradbury, but when you look at the offenses that had success against the Eagles, you got to have an alpha. You got to have an alpha receiver who can high point balls, because anything that's within Slay's radius, he typically is going to beat a receiver to it. And we saw Terry McLaurin have success there. That seems to be like a recipe there. You got to be able to run the ball, but they do get Jordan Davis back, so it's kind of a little tough there. I do think you need an alpha receiver to attack this Eagles secondary. They will be down Avonte Maddox. I love Isaiah Hodgins. I think he's a great story. He does present a physical problem for Slay. I think he'll get a lot more Bradbury, but it's hard for me to see. It's just going to come down to, I just don't think the Giants have enough horses here.
I could see that maybe they run out of gas, but where I could see the Giants attack, and AJ's probably going to love this, I think this could be a Daniel Bellinger here.
Oh!
Yep.
He's the best Bellinger in pro sports right now.
So Dallas had a lot of success versus the Eagles, and where they had a lot of success was they were constantly using CeeDee Lamb to manipulate the defense, and they were getting him into slot positions, and they were trying to they were forcing the safeties to get a high-low. And so I think if they can get Daniel Bellinger in seam routes on that and force the safeties, I think that is where the weak spot of the Eagles defense is. I don't think you really try to attack them outside. I think Bradbury and Slay lock it down. But I think Daboll's going to be smart enough to understand that. And he probably sends Slayton on so many 9 routes just to carry somebody out. And it's going to be Bellinger and maybe some Hodgins throughout that middle. And I think that's what it's going to be. That's going to be enough. And then you have Barkley pulling up the linebacker. So I think he's going to be able to create that space in the middle of the field where they are weak, and that's how they'll be able to move the ball. And then you also have Daniel Jones's legs. I think that obviously that's a weapon they've been using all year, but it's not really something you saw it versus the Eagles with Dak. When he was moving with his feet and getting outside, and the Eagles pass rush couldn't get home with 4, he was getting chunk yardage off of those plays. I think he had 3 runs of 10 plus, and Dak's no longer this like massively mobile quarterback. Ever since the injury, he's not really the guy that gets you big plus plays. But against the Eagles,
he picks and chooses.
So
it's a good point on the Jones running. We just saw him run 17 times against the Vikings, but I think the bigger thing is he didn't run much in their first matchup, which is I'm not talking about the Week 18 matchup. That's kind of like throw it out the window. It doesn't matter. But the Eagles over the season, this is it's kind of like a faux stat a little bit. Doesn't really count, but they are third worst against quarterback runs. Their defense has been susceptible to that. I'd probably have to go back and see how much success was without Jordan Davis and how much of that stat is they just played Justin Fields this year. So I don't know. So it could be a little bit of an inflated stat, like a little juice ball in baseball. But I think Jones is going to have to run the ball this game for them to have a chance 100%. If Saquon gets over 120 yards, hey, man, Giants can beat anybody. But I don't know. I think obviously I picked the Cowboys. I don't know if you were with us then. I picked the Cowboys over the Niners, so I don't think the Giants have a better shot than the Cowboys. But I do think this is going to be close one way or another. I don't know. The Giants have that it doesn't matter who we play kind of vibe where it's like we're going to make it a game no matter what. We may not win, but we're going to make it's the magic of good coaching. When you consistently make the correct coaching decision, you will be in the game. And we know Dayball does that. And also, look at Nick Sirianni's dumb face. He's bound to do something stupid. I hate how he should not wear a visor. It makes his face infinitely
looks
more
like a tennis player with a headset on.
He looks infinitely more punchable with
Yeah, he does. That is.
He's probably a big guy, so if I ever run into him, I should probably calm down a little bit. But I'm just saying, like he has a really punchable face with he looks like more of a Philly fan with that visor on that just shot 18 holes.
He definitely fits in with the Philly type of fan base, and though everybody kind of knows it, the Philly fan base is not exactly likable.
Oh,
neither is the Dallas fan base, but I've heard of people that have said that they'll never go back to Philadelphia to watch a football game because their fan base is just that awful.
You're in the news every 5 years.
I thought that was a really
happens in the stadium.
That was a really calm Super Bowl celebration. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, I just maybe we're just not fans of competitive rock paper scissors during the scouting combine. Why don't you think the Cowboys have a shot here? Is this just years of disappointment? Are you just insulating yourself from getting your hopes up? I think the Cowboys are sneakily. You should look at Super Bowl odds and maybe lay a little action there.
No, it's not a matter of I don't think the Cowboys have a shot. It is more of I think San Francisco is really just that good.
Really?
Yeah. And it's not – how do I say it? If Dallas plays as well as they can, and then all bets are off. In fact, I think if Dallas plays their top-notch game, I don't think the Niners will be able to play a top-notch game, and I think they lose. Because I think if Dallas plays a top-notch game, they're going to do what you said, jump out to an early lead. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, I think Micah and the gang will do enough to impact the Niners that we create some turnovers. And if we create some turnovers and capitalize it, then I still think it'll be a close game. You know, I think the Niners, like you said, Shannon, will adjust. They may come back, but I don't think it's going to have enough. I don't think Purdy will be able to make enough throws to actually bring them back.
Man, I'm now more in on the Quinn revenge game against Shanahan. I'm more in on it now more than ever. Now that I got a Cowboys fan telling me he's skeptical, I'm ready. Okay. I think I got this. I want to be the guy that called this shit. Dan Quinn is going to bend over Kyle Shanahan and be like, you owe me a Super Bowl, motherfucker. You owe me a goddamn fucking Super Bowl. 28-3?
Yeah.
28-3? Fucking take Kyle Shanahan's face mask off and you see Brandon Staley. Fucking asshole.
Oh man.
I'm
No,
going. I got Cowboys, man. I'm probably gonna look like an idiot. Maybe I'll get on First Take with Stephen A. if I guess this correctly.
I think
All right,
another talking point that maybe
you got it. You got it.
mentioned Kellen Moore to D'Amico Ryans,
Yeah.
but one of they got embarrassed. Kellen Moore last year when we played the Niners, he got embarrassed. So that may be something that really weighed on him. I can only hope as a Cowboys fan that was like a game that kept him up at night, and he's been trying to game plan and scheme for that. But I don't know. I just don't know. Man, San Francisco's just got so many horses. It's not funny.
I'm ready to say that I think the Cowboys should not start Jason Peters. Their O-line looked better without him, to me.
I agree. But
I don't think Peters should be the left tackle. At bare minimum, he should not be playing left tackle. Like Peters versus Bosa? Peters versus Bosa? What? What?
Yeah. AJ, go for it.
I don't know, man. I think you should be a little more excited. I'm ready. I really think that they're going to be able. I don't think they miss those opportunities that Purdy is going to put up there. And maybe, I don't know, man. I just, it's got to end sometime. Good even if Purdy is the guy. Let's say Purdy is a guy. Quarterbacks have bad games. He's due. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and this could be a product of the 17 game season, but isn't it kind of weird that we have all these teams on like these long, lengthy fucking winning streaks? Like, it seems like everybody's on a fucking 8-game winning streak. You got the Niners, you got the Bengals, you got the Bills. Obviously, one of those teams wouldn't have it based on the DeMar Hamlin game. So maybe that's the anomaly causing it. But you got the Chiefs. Seems like everybody's on a goddamn 6, 7, 8-game win streak going into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. What else we got here? Any who you got? Where you got Sean Payton going? Or do you think he's waiting to see if McCarthy fucks this up?
I honestly think that's what's happening.
Because
we've been talking about it.
Oh, you guys have
been talking about it.
Wrong brown guy, AJ. You got to pick the right one.
I'm reversed here.
We all don't look alike, AJ. Jesus.
Yeah, what kind of sandwich would this be? Are we? What is this? I'll be bacon. You want to be chorizo? So what? You're a mozzarella? Are you our mozzarella, AJ?
Yeah.
If we're going purely just off of looks and not necessarily like heritage, it looks like an oatmeal cream pie right now.
Oh wow. I thought I was having a good skin day, man. Damn, you just hurt my feelings.
No, not that. I'm just talking about brown on the outside.
Little Debbie here.
I think that Sean Payton is smart enough to know that he's got an above average demand. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm not rushing into anything. I want all the dust to settle. I want every opportunity available. And if that means Mike McCarthy maybe plays his way out of a very good situation, then I want to be there for that. And I would want to be there the same way that I would be for, Brandon Staley. Jerry's definitely going to be the one to pay that pick. The permutations as they're being reported are very claustrophobic when it comes to which teams are going to be in the mix for him. But every team is a threat when that coach is Sean Payton.
Sure. How much would you shit your pants, JL, if Sean Payton became the Washington head coach? I can't say Commanders. That's just fucking stupid. I hate that name.
So
would Jerry hire someone to get rid of McCarthy? Would he hire I don't know. McCarthy doesn't look like he has any dirt on him. He looks like he goes home and fucks his wife missionary.
If he even gets any at all.
Yeah, right. He ate a sub the wrong way. I don't know what dirt could he find on McCarthy, but I feel like Jerry would lose his mind. He'd probably break something on his yacht.
Yeah, I think Jerry would be super upset. I personally wouldn't. I think I have some reservations about how. Don't get me wrong, Sean Payton is an excellent offensive mind.
Sure.
But I think if you were to put him in the kind of situation in which he really wants, um, he would end up doing something similar like he did to New Orleans. I think Sean Payton was a big driver of always pushing the chips in.
Mm-hmm.
And that can work if you hit on the right guys. Sure. But if you don't, we saw it with the Rams. They bet on Allen Robinson this year. They bet on Matt Stafford's health again, which was something I think we had mentioned it back in the league since last year. Yep. How sketchy that health situation really is, because he had something like 4 back surgeries before signing. And when it goes wrong, it's going to go wrong badly. And so that's my only reservation with Sean Payton.
Yeah, Matt Stafford does missionary for other reasons.
So that would be my reservation for the Cowboys, but just that would be my outlook for him on any squad, is that he's going to potentially ruin that team's or that franchise from a general manager standpoint. And so I wouldn't be as worried if he signed with somebody else.
I would encourage you guys. Jay Glazer went on Dan Le Batard. He kind of gave a little inside look on what Sean Payton does to an organization. Obviously, they both work at Fox. He's not going to like go in and shit on him. But I thought it was interesting how he upgraded the facilities in New Orleans from like kind of like trailer park to, they called it the W Hotel, where like he goes to different, he really cares about how to take care of the players. They're the first team in the NFL to have cryo chambers, things of that nature. I really like Sean Payton. I think the Brady stuff is overdone. I obviously my hot take was him and Brady go to Washington, but I think he could be, quietly having a pulse on the Lamar Jackson situation. I really have bad vibes about that press conference that we saw from Baltimore. It looked like a hostage situation with Eric DaCosta. He looked uncomfortable throughout it, and it felt like John Harbaugh was just basically how I translated Harbaugh's comments is, I got nothing to do with this, and you motherfucker, you better do your job. Like that's kind of how I fucking saw that shit. Like, I have nothing to do with the negotiations. I don't fucking know. This motherfucker better sign him. But everything's great. Lamar wants to be a Raven.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the wild card is that, I mean, it's not even a wild card. It's just kind of something that has spawned from, this is like the quarterback version of when DeAndre Hopkins got traded and extended by the Cardinals, and you set a market so high that that one player benefits on the arguable stupidity and cap mismanagement, but then the rest of the players see that and they want that for themselves. And because Lamar doesn't have an agent, I feel like he just loses negotiating power because he doesn't have that, that extra layer of someone looking out for him that way. Sure. And so it definitely does sound a little better to, from the Ravens themselves, to, it sounds a little more rosy on their part. It felt like it was tipping more towards him leaving, but I do think this is very much somewhere in the middle still. I think DaCosta's playing it right by enticing Lamar to maybe erode some of that hard stance on getting a guaranteed contract, because at the end of the day, if Lamar is going to flex that muscle after all of that EDC is going to put, have him input on, I don't think it's going to happen. It's very easy to look at the Ravens as a failure over like the last 18 months or so, but this is top down, year in, year out, one of the most disciplined, successful franchises in the history of the NFL. They are in the same breath as the Patriots, the Niners, all of that. And they are not going to let any player bend them over backwards over contract negotiations. They will go back to do what they do, and that's just the way they operate.
You mean they were disciplined enough to leave in the middle of the night from Cleveland?
Indeed, they were. Indeed, they were.
You mean they're disciplined enough to hire a murderer as their middle linebacker and then cover that shit up? You mean they're you mean they're disciplined enough to have Ray Rice bounce his now wife's head off a Vegas I don't know. I think yeah. Jesus Christ, that was so bad. Look, I think the Ravens are kind of like that bedrock of stability in a lot of ways, but I think they bungled this, man. I really do. I agree with some fronts on the Lamar agent thing. I think it's a little overblown to a certain extent. I do agree, though. You can't have an agent and then expect a fully guaranteed $250 million deal. I think that is mutually exclusive. And that's the biggest difference because – and that's what I would – if I knew Lamar Jackson, that's what I would be telling him. You can't get a $250 million – how did Deshaun Watson get that? His fucking agent.
Right.
Hello. He has David Mugoletta as his agent, who is one of those power broker agents, and that's how he got it.
And I think that's kind of like a huge play. Like that's a huge factor now as a member of the Cleveland Browns organization, because the whole argument was you're not going to get a player this young, this talented as a free agent. And the very next offseason, Lamar Jackson is potentially a free agent. They have to be kicking themselves in the ass, not only for anchoring themselves to him, but coming back, missing the playoffs, him looking like crap, which was probably expected. And now the very unicorn situation you thought was never going to happen is staring you right in the face again. Could you imagine Lamar Jackson in that offense?
I love that whole like subtext of like where Jimmy Haslam is like shunned at owner meetings now. Like Steve Bisciotti like got all his cronies and they're like, we don't like you. You don't go here. Like
stop trying to make Watson happen. It's not going to happen.
What the fuck, man? It's like what it's like. I guess it's like one of those things where like if you were like married and like say your wife has like a sister or something and like he gets her like this like $4 million diamond ring and you're like, yo, what the fuck? Like we were just on flowers. What are you doing here? I don't know, man. Do you think Lamar looked at the Baker situation and was like, I'm just not going to play?
I think he would have been more willing to put skin in the game if I'm Lamar, because I don't think there's a comparison. You know, I think 31 picks
between you and Lamar. I don't know. Let me see your 40.
It's in the fridge upstairs. It's
exactly.
If I'm Lamar and I'm seeking guaranteed money, franchise tag is not what I want, but it does buy me time in that way. Baker was never, ever going to have that same threat to the Browns as to, you know, examine life without him in the same way that Lamar is, because Lamar is the offense. Lamar is as the Ravens go right now when it comes to offense. So I don't think it's quite the same, but
do you think they solved something by getting rid of Roman? Like I gotta say, like I just feel like it's a perfect storm. I don't think it's all on the contract. I just feel like Lamar, I don't want to say like he didn't think they could beat the Bengals, because that would be, I would say, disrespectful to his competitive nature. But I just feel like the PCL injury, DeMarcus Robinson is my fucking top wide receiver. I really only have Mark Andrews. Dobbins is playing on half a leg. If I don't win this game, it hurts my leverage. I think it's just a perfect storm where it's just like, I wouldn't sign if I was him either, to be honest with you, because they have Bateman and Andrews, and like Andrews hasn't really been Andrews. The one thing I think about Andrews is like, I hate to bring up like diabetes, but like I feel like that comes into his playtime, man. Like it's He had that big breakout year where we all anointed him as the number one fantasy tight end. But now I think we're starting to see long term, like maybe that comes into why he can't do Travis Kelce like snap shares. And
I know that JL is dying to chime in here, but
yeah,
to your diabetes point, I remember researching after that career for Mark Andrews for fantasy, and yeah, he is one of those guys where his snap share is down, but his yards per target and his targets per route, my bad, is so through the roof, so that yes, theoretically, if you were to have him out there, 80, 90 snaps, that could theoretically improve his target share. But when he's out there, he is not only pulling in those elite numbers, but like he's giving the production to match in a fraction of the sample size that, or snap size that your average tight end would play. And honestly, even Kelce is kind of, nobody wants to talk about it, but it's slowly. And that's a guy that has been doing it for years, and he's pushing into his early 30s now.
He's like a starter that doesn't complete games anymore. He just goes 7.
Exactly.
Which
And that's
is
what I'm
fine.
saying. So
Which is
I don't
fine.
think that the diabetes
Let's be
is
clear.
really a factor for Andrews at all.
They let Noah Gray block people, but your floor, JL. We'll shut up.
Yeah,
We'll mute
he's
ourselves.
100% right. His route participation for when the Ravens actually pass is something. It's like on par with all the alpha wide receivers. It's something like 86% plus or something like that. So it's 100% right. The reason that his snap share was so low prior to, and so just a quick update. This has been the highest season for average snap share for Mark Andrews of his career. He topped 70% for the first time in his career, and he actually had, I think it was like 6 games above 90%.
Wow.
So this was the first time that that's really happened. But AJ hit it, I think, nail right on the head. When they were passing, Mark Andrews is on the field, and the only reason that he would not be on the field is because the Ravens were so run heavy from years prior that they would just be like, "Wow, yeah, if we're going to run, we don't need Andrews out there." So,
if you could make one move right now to try to entice Lamar to stay, what would you do?
I might go and try to trade for DeAndre Hopkins.
That was the name I had.
Yep. I don't think there's a bigger, brighter, shining beacon of this is your get out of jail free card for whatever your issue is right now.
We got another one. Everybody
trade for Hopkins. Yeah. There is no bigger name wide receiver that is considered more readily available, that can be had for the proper price because of his age, because of his contract, because he still has probably a couple of good years left as well as an alpha. And is there a team that needs an alpha more than the Baltimore Ravens?
No, I think that's a good name, Brandon Cooks. I didn't think about that. That is a fair point. Fair, very, very fair counter. I would say get both. And I was having this thought today where it's just like, I got to give credit to the Bengals, man. They're the only team that I've really seen do this, where it's like you have this generational quarterback, and I think Burrow qualifies. I think we can call Burrow a generational quarterback. Just go fucking worry about everything else later. Just cement fucking the best possible skill guys around him. And I kind of see this with Mahomes. This doesn't really apply to the Tyreek trade per se, because I think they did the right thing trading Tyreek. Just the capital they got back plus not having to pay him. That was just we can't not make this move. And Tyreek was very adamant. He wanted $30 million a year. Kind of fucking hard to do that when you have Kelce. I mean more like, I just don't get it. And, I think we're all, I don't know about AJ because he thinks Derek Carr is better than Aaron Rodgers, but this is the biggest problem we've had. Like, you look at the Aaron Rodgers situation, and it's just like, if I'm that guy, if I think you guys know this, but I'm gonna let everybody else know here. If I was the GM of the Packers, Justin Jefferson would have been in a Packers uniform. There's no way I'm leaving that draft without that guy in that spot. And on top of that, I would go get him. I would draft a first-round receiver every fucking year. and I'd worry about everything else later. Because you give Aaron Rodgers a guy, he's a stud. Look at what happened with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, fucking amazing. I would go a little bit further. I think the Bills have messed up in certain areas. I think you could have had other guys. I would just load my offense up, especially with how the rules are. I just don't understand why teams don't do this. And I know someone's going to be like, it's not a video game. It's not this. It's not that. I don't know, man. It makes too much sense to get the best skill guys for your generational quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's hard. The hesitation comes when you don't want to be too sure. You want to trust your process. You want to, not rush into anything. You want to build behind, not chasing need and whatnot. So I do understand it from that point, but like, just generally speaking, it seems that the further you are away from the ball, the more valuable you are. When it comes from sideline to sideline, when you look at interior offensive line versus tackle, when you look at slot wide receiver versus, perimeter wide receiver, running backs don't matter. Although they're sort of making a comeback, but it was why I was very heavily in on, Chase over Penei Sewell when that pick was available. It's why I was so down on Rodgers, because you take that away from someone, and sure enough, we've created the hotness this year was Tua, which everybody was about to write him off after 2 years of meh.
I did.
When first of all, we've done that to just about everybody else, and the timing is the same for Josh Allen. If I'm gonna, he went 2 years, they trade for Diggs. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, this guy's pretty good.
I think he was definitely better than Tua before that, though.
100%. But what I'm saying is, when you give it's not even a cheat code. It's literally just like a variable, a connection that is not subject to the same variables on the inside of the field. If you can isolate in that way, that's the thing that's going to drive value over time, when you can just make it right when everything else goes wrong. That's just something that, I would be doing the exact same thing with first round wide receivers.
Yeah. So
you
I'm
got
throw
it.
something back. So, you were talking about, I'm just going to take a first round wide receiver like every year, or.
Well, I think I wanted to walk that back immediately. It doesn't have to. T. Higgins wasn't a first rounder.
Right. But you also mentioned Justin Jefferson. The Packers could have had T. Higgins too. And
I don't get it.
Came out, I think, on a public interview and said, I thought we were drafting the boy from Clemson. Speaking,
he did. Yeah, he did say he thought we were taking Higgins.
He thought it was taking Higgins, but I'm gonna throw it back a little bit. So, do you guys remember when the Indianapolis Colts? Granted, they drafted Reggie Wayne, I believe it was in '96. He was like a top 20 pick. Oh man, not Reggie Wayne, but Marvin Harrison. But then they went and they had Peyton Manning. They knew they had Peyton Manning. And I believe it was either in 99 or 2000, they took Reggie Wayne.
Exactly.
And then I think in 2002, they took
Dallas
Clark. And then the next year, they took the kid out of Ohio State. I think it was Anthony Gonzalez.
Was it Stoke? Oh, it was Anthony Gonzalez.
No, Anthony Gonzalez.
Speedster.
Yeah, he was a speedster. And he, back then, I think he still even had like 2,000-yard seasons, but then he had concussions. They made that offense work and that whole team work, consistently taking high-end weapons in the first round.
Well, what drives me more nuts is you trade Devontae, right? And then you take Quay Walker and Hyatt. And you saw in that game against the Lions, both these guys sucked. Quay Walker had.
It would be different if they had the Niners defense, if they had the 15 Broncos, if they had any of these elite units. They don't. They are soft as shit, and it pisses me off with him, with Staley. They just don't have the personnel to do that, and it's completely wasting the draft capital at that point.
They could have traded for more at the deadline. They could have Elijah Moore definitely could have been traded.
Yep.
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Matt LaFleur wanted nothing to do with him if he really did tell his brother to go fuck himself or something. Or you suck. But it's just like, I just don't get it. Like, instead of taking those two guys, you're taking an off-ball linebacker and a nose tackle, which are two devalued positions. Those are not foundational blocks. Why not go up and fucking Hell, even take Jamison Williams. Hell,
Yeah.
even fucking take, I don't know, Chris Olave. You don't think Olave would have had a 100-catch season with Rodgers throwing the ball? Go get Garrett Wilson. Granted, I didn't really like Garrett Wilson. I just Ohio State receivers kind of freak me out a little bit, but I got to get over that. Ryan Day knows how to coach wide receivers.
Yeah, and I mean, you're screaming into the void, because not only would that have cost a bunch, because all of those receivers got traded up to in the top 14, 15. Was Dotson win 15? Was it?
I'd send both first rounders. I'd send Wyatt.
You would, but that's what I'm saying. If you're asking the Packers to do that, they never will. It's that is who they are in their bones, and that's why they are where they are right now.
Yep, they need an owner. You were going to say, JL?
No, I mean, he's 100% right. They're never going to do it, and Treylon Burks was a top 16. I think he was the last. So I think all 5 of the wide receivers that we all kind of considered the top 5 or 6 wide receivers.
I think Burks was 22. Burks was 22.
Burks was
it was the Eagles pick.
Yeah, it was the Eagles pick.
So that was 16?
Yeah.
I'm almost positive it was 16.
It's either 16
I thought
or
Dotson
18.
went after that. I remember Dotson is the guy I keep forgetting.
No, Dotson went ahead of them.
Yeah, Dotson went ahead of Burks. I remember, because I thought I was almost crapping my pants because I thought the Commanders were going to take Treylon Burks.
Right. You're the president of that fan club.
Yeah, I'm the president of the Treylon.
I pay my dues, but I'm not aware of the subscription.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, if the Commanders pair Terry McLaurin with Treylon Burks, who I think have very complementary skill sets for each other, I was like, that's going to be a nightmare. No matter, even if it is Carson Wentz at quarterback, I was like, that's not a recipe for that defenses want to see.
I think you were right on Burks. He looked good when Tannehill was there, aka a quarterback that can get him the ball.
Yeah, he's fine. I think he's gonna do just fine. I mean, his peripherals look pretty awesome for a rookie receiver, despite the lower production. But I'm gonna shift back into something we were talking about with Lamar Jackson. I'm probably the one here that's the most skeptical about him ever leaving. This kind of reminds me of the Dak situation.
Oh.
When everybody was saying that the Cowboys bungled the Dak Prescott contract, that Dak was going to walk in free agency, and that there was serious chatter about he could leave. And I don't think we've ever seen a guy who's a franchise quarterback, a legitimate franchise quarterback, walk away before the age of 20, or another franchise let him leave before the age of 28, or the age of 30.
Kirk Cousins?
Joe Burrow in a year or two? With Mike Brown not being able to shut his team, all that stuff. Could you imagine?
Kirk O'Chain's not a franchise quarterback?
Oh, right.
Danny Dimes just fucking dragged his dick all over him. I forgot.
A legit, and don't get me wrong, I like Kirk Cousins. I think that you can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins if everything around him is good.
On your Burrow comment, I'm assuming there, Age.
The most insufferable franchise fans would be, in that case, it would be Cincy first and Philly second.
You guys left me screaming in the void, but those comments by Mike Brown were literally like, his PR person must have had a heart attack or a stroke, like as he was saying them to the press. Like, what are you doing? Ah!
Well, and it's because, I mean, it's been known, right? That Mike Brown is a penny pinching, just frugal son of a bitch. Right? He really is.
That was very diplomatic of you.
Yeah. Hey, she's a nice lady.
I mean, I think he's looking at all the quarterback contracts right now, and he's seeing how much is being dished out at signing, and he's looking at his bank account, and he's like, I can't do it. Like I can't sign $120 million check.
Right. Yeah. You got to put that into escrow. I think it's like 180.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a no-brainer, man. Like, you look at remember when Mahomes got his deal and we were all like, "Ah," like everybody's looks like a bargain to me now. Looks like they got out in front of it. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, Dak's deal. Everybody was bashing that deal.
4-140, right? 4-140.
Yeah, he got 4-40.
Looks like a bargain to me.
It looks like a bargain now.
Yeah, and I think we can't necessarily award the same level of tact to the Dallas front offense. We definitely can for the Ravens, and I think that they're smart enough to see that. I think they definitely have the benefit in that it's very much like, to contrast, like, if the Bengals were going to pull this, like, there's no arguing that Joe Burrow is the thing that has pulled them out of the ashes. Whereas, the Ravens, you had the 1 year MVP, you regressed after that. There's questions about accuracy and decision making and all that stuff. You could kind of do that with Dak too. You have a lot of time missed with injury. What was it? When you lost Dez, right? You lost Dez, and then he dipped down, and then you brought in Cooper. He went back up. You brought CD. We were ready, and then he got hurt. So there's a lot of victim of circumstance things that you could do with that. It's harder to do that for a Burrow case, but I think the Ravens are fortuitous in that way that they can do that with Lamar.
I want to live in the world where there was, I think, for about 48 hours where Mike Brown didn't want to pay the number 1 overall pick salary, and Burrow was being shopped, and the Jets offered Darnold and 2 1s. And then I think the Bengals front office locked Mike Brown in a room, and we're like, we're not taking any fucking offers.
I
remember that was floated. It was probably the New York media just trying to get the number 1 pick. But yeah, that would have been amazing. But yeah, they were probably like, we got to lock him in a room. Like, get the fuck out of here. We don't want Sam Darnold. I think there's a couple rapid fire stuff. Does Cliff Kingsbury coach next year in the NFL?
No, I'm going to say no, because not even just like the whole Thailand thing and the, haha, lady boys, haha, but no, there were heavy criticisms of him. Even second, I'm gonna open up my stuff. Sorry, I was getting a call on that.
You heard lady boys?
Anyway, there were heavy criticisms. That's right. Don't you talk about me like that. I'm outed.
Was it
the fluff in the sandwich and the ladyboy lover?
Oh, there we go. It was instinct. It was instinct.
No, there was, it wasn't even just like rosy or, like doom and gloom narrative. He was fired from Texas Tech and was promoted to NFL head coach with a scheme that was very rudimentary, that was heavily criticized, that he did, to his credit, develop over time. He really had to get away from, like, when people think of that offense, I think they still think of 4 wide receivers, and they really don't do that, not nearly as much as they did when they first came in. They really had to transition to a more balanced formation with a lot more 2 tight end sets. It didn't go also as you kind of thought it would.
They were 11-0 at one point.
Exactly. And they had the benefit of a Steve Keim through all his faults as a drafter. He has been consistently a very good hitter on offensive talent and just trades in general. Those acquisitions, bringing those players in. I think the circumstances that had to go right for Cliff Kingsbury to be to be successful with all of that wide receiver talent, to get Kyler Murray number 1 in the draft after they just took Rosen, for him to be able to figure out that he needs to adjust. All of those things, I think, were kind of just like very coincidental. And it's going to be very hard for him to replicate that right off the bat, especially if he's going to be, there's not going to be a head coaching gig for him, I could almost guarantee. And so you're talking about him going in as a coordinator or an assistant. He could do something as an assistant, but is that the question you're asking me? Are you asking me if he's going to be the assistant tight ends coach for the Patriots? I don't think you're asking me that. I think you want to know, is he touching the offense? So if he was to, again, that's a major clash of ideology. He ran the show there at in Arizona. And so we don't even know how much of what he knows and breathes of the air raid is even going to transfer outside of those doors now that he doesn't run the show.
Jail.
Quick, no, he's not. He's not going to be a head coach. He's not going to be an offensive coordinator. I think he sits at least a year, and I think even when he comes back, he's going to go back to college.
I got him as the introducing your new head coach at FAU.
Let me throw where
he's got to take a college head coaching job. He will get $10 million a year.
You want to know where I think he could really end up? At Oregon.
Ooh. No, I think they like their coach. They like their coach too much.
Maybe, but he didn't do too well this last year. Is it? I need to check.
They won. Didn't they win? Bo Nix, baby. Pretty sure they won their bowl game. They came back.
Yeah, they did, but I mean, they had a relatively, how do I say it? Like a non-Oregon, it just wasn't splashy this year for them.
No, Cristobal changed that team. So yeah, I could see it. When Cristobal's recruits kind of like filter out, it could be a situation like that. I think Kingsbury gets he'd be foolish not to take a 10-year, $100 million deal from whatever college gets desperate.
That's what Oregon would want. They want that guy. They're used to the Chip Kelly, the spread, the kind of air raid, not necessarily just air raid, but that spread offense, and then it would go with Oregon, I think. And he'd also fit in, I think, in Oregon in the Pac-12, where there's not going to be as much quote unquote pressure to win. It's a little more lax, a lot of late games.
Ewok kind of is presenting a natural transition here. I was going to talk about how are we going to feel when Jim Harbaugh takes over for Pete Carroll in Seattle?
Man.
How awesome would that be next year? Harbaugh takes over for Pete Carroll. They get all those guys, and then we get Harbaugh trying to come back at San Francisco.
Oh my God. That would be maximum damage. That would be my God.
That would be awesome. That's what I'm rooting for.
By Kenneth Walker, if that happens.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. By Kenneth Walker regardless. But
and sell DK.
So I think based on Harbaugh's age, it's either I know he said he's going back to Michigan. So it kind of leaves next year. If he doesn't jump to the NFL next year, it's probably not going to happen. Just rationally looking at age, right, boys? So do we think Jim Harbaugh ever coaches in the NFL?
Again, no.
Yeah, wow. I like to think about it, but no.
Wow, I think third time's the charm. I think he has to. There's no way you entertain this. I think he's peaked at Michigan as well, and I think he knows it.
Yeah, I think for him to just consistently keep getting brought back, it's not even that. It's more just like the level of collapse and bureaucracy that happened to that Niners team. You want to talk about like loaded rosters? The Niners 6 years ago were probably just as loaded as they are right now, especially on defense. And all of that was gone in a month and a half between retirements, trades.
Willis and Borland. Yeah, those are big losses.
All of it gone into thin fucking air. And that's got to weigh on you to be at the pinnacle, to be in the Super Bowl the year before, to face off against your brother, and you have to sit at Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas with John and just know that you're never probably ever going to be that close again. That probably would be enough for me.
Well, I mean, if he wins a national title, I mean, he could like talk at the Thanksgiving dinner, I guess again.
Oh, 100%.
Ben posted this about Kingsbury. The one thing I'd like to note about Kingsbury there is if he takes a OC job, he still gets that money. It just offsets whatever he gets from the team as payment. That money is ironed in no matter what. It's probably just offsetting. I don't know. I'm here for the spicy coach stuff. I want. You good with Harbaugh in Seattle? Jail.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I think it'd be such a weird contrast too of styles between Carroll and Harbaugh. Because I don't know.
Well, they also hate each other. That would make it even better.
Yes, they hate each other. So I could see Harbaugh doing it potentially out of spite, like I'm gonna show you how you should have ran this team, Pete, kind of deal. So maybe that's enough to pull him in. But they're just so contrasted. Like, just if you've ever heard, they say Harbaugh is like super quirky. Like,
right?
They say he like everything in his delivery is like just like deadpan.
Typically happens with young Catholic boys.
And whoa, let's try to stay away from that one because that would be a weird segue. But yeah, so it would just be such a clash in style that I would love to see it, and then you would have the revenge factor of, going against the Niners twice a year. So I'd be on board.
Would you embrace him if he became the Cowboys head coach next year? Like, let's say McCarthy shits the bed. They don't win the Super Bowl this year. McCarthy shits the bed. Would you embrace Jim Harbaugh?
I don't know.
That's a no.
I don't know. I don't think like initial reaction, no, but I'd probably warm up to the idea.
I'd love to see that interview of Jerry and Jim. That would not go well.
Yeah, that would.
So we have JL down as a not in my backyard for Jim Harbaugh.
I don't like how you hem your pants, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get rid of the pleated pants, bro. Like,
yeah. And I mean, just speaking about Pete, I mean, is there a coach that is more rightfully strutting their feathers right now? Just
good for him. He was right.
Right. Not that they're like Patriots airtight when it comes to like, things leaking, but they were out and vocal the second that trade was done. The second that trade was done, the players were shitting on Russ. Pete was, shitting on Russ in interviews. Like, I think he's got a lot.
They created, but that was, to be fair, that's their monster they created.
For sure. But they used that to their advantage as well. They came out of that. Yeah.
They picked Russ over the Legion of Boom. They picked Russ. So they don't get a full pass from me here. They created that fucking monster. Can I remind everybody, Pete thought enough of Russ to throw on the 1 motherfucking yard line in the dumbest, I don't care what anyone says, I don't care, dumbest fucking play call ever. Fucking literal dumbest fucking play call ever.
It's because you bring that up, random tidbit that I completely forgot about I just deleted it from my mind for the last 18 games or so. Offensive coordinator of that was Darrell Bevell. Where is Darrell Bevell right now?
Nowhere. In the Gimp's basement.
Where's Darrell Bevell right now?
I don't know. Where is he?
JL, where is he?
Oh, I don't know. I actually lost track of where he was at.
Oh.
Didn't he became the Lions?
All right, interim, now you guys have me doubting it, so now I got to make sure that I'm correct.
Hey Siri, where's Darrell Bevell hiding? Now I have to look. Isn't he the guy that ruined his daughter's engagement?
I don't know.
He was in Jacksonville, wasn't he?
No, he's in Miami.
He's in Miami. He turned down the Jets offensive coordinator job. Thank fucking God.
He's in Miami right now. The hotness offense. He's the OC.
No, he's the pass game coordinator.
Yes.
There was the de facto OC because McDaniel calls the plays and shit.
Yeah, but when it came to offensive minds, I don't think there was a more vilified name at that time in the aftermath of that Super Bowl than Darrell Bevell. He was a cancer presence. You could not touch. You could not touch. You could not have him around.
He was the favorite for the Jets job.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
No, that's their perceived. That was their perceived favorite. He turned them down.
Perceived.
Yeah, for the Jets offensive coordinator. Yeah, that was who they apparently were looking at.
Zach Wilson is so bad.
I mean, yes.
If Zach Wilson
The
was
answer
the
is
quarterback,
yes.
he would have given it to Marshawn. No.
No, if we're being realistic, Zach Wilson would have spun the wrong way trying to hand it to Marshawn.
Oh, if we're being real, it would have been a pick six, not just a pick. What do the Jets do? We're fucked.
You just got to run it back and bring Jimmy in. You kind of fucked.
Yeah, that's why I'm a Bills fan.
The Jets, in my opinion, they gotta go hard after Brady. I don't know if Brady will ever do it.
They'd have to fire Saleh, and they're not going to do that.
But I think that's the guy they need to go get because
Brady.
Lamar, maybe. If they can get Lamar, obviously that's a no-brainer. Even though I think I think me and AJ have talked about this. Maybe trading for Lamar and what it's going to cost in terms of draft capital, and then on top of that, the contract that it's going to require.
He's not ready.
It may be a net negative once you do all that. But if you're the Jets, you need to get a guy that you can win with. And I understand that you can win with Jimmy Garoppolo, you can win with Derek Carr, but you're not winning when it matters with those guys.
I'm here to tell you who the Jets quarterback is going to be. You ready?
Who?
His name is often auto-corrected for Ladyboy.
Auto-corrected?
Correct.
I have no idea.
I'm not
sure. He was drafted as the number 8 selection after starting his career as a wide receiver at Texas A&M.
Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill.
There we go. I think it's going to be Tannehill. Tannehill seems like the perfect guy for that situation, especially if Saleh is going to continue to run a play action and boot heavy offense. And it saves face because if Zach Wilson beats out Tannehill, hallelujah. If he doesn't, Tannehill's you can still kind of fashion it as Zach Wilson is still salvageable. He's just not as good as a guy who's been a top 12 quarterback the last 3 years.
I don't think the Titans will get rid of Tannehill.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think Vrabel wants to get rid of Tannehill.
I think Vrabel looked at Malik Willis and immediately ran upstairs and got him fired. The motherfucker can't throw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, you know what I think? This is what happened. Vrabel tried to make it work, and Malik Willis tried to hit Treylon Burks on an out route and fucking just dome piece Vrabel on the sideline. And he's like, he swallowed his dip, threw up, and said, fuck this. I'm going up there. I'm not going to the GM. I'm going to the owner, bitch.
Yeah. We know the Malik, and granted, maybe Malik Willis develops. I don't think he will. I think he's way too raw to ever really make something of himself. Maybe he can be a good backup for like a Lamar Jackson or something like that, where
the person
you don't have to.
That took him at the 212 in a startup. So good. It was so good. I was so happy.
Yeah, maybe he can make himself a career backup where he's backing up those kinds of guys like a Lamar Jackson or
be a tight end for Arthur Smith in 3 years.
There you go. Felipe Franks.
All right, I guess we could close it out. You guys want to do the first round of a dynasty startup with our picks?
Sure.
Go for it.
Who wants the 101? Superflex or not superflex?
We got, well,
I feel like in superflex, it's pretty obvious. The first 6 picks are going to be quarterbacks.
correct.
Okay. Yeah, so we could do one QB.
I think we should go no quarterback. No, yeah, one QB is essentially the same.
Yeah,
Thank
one
you.
QB.
Yeah, my brains. You guys, AJ got a glimpse of it. You should have seen me trying to figure this shit out earlier. It was not good. Definitely a little panicked. All right. I don't know who wants the 101. Not me. It's
Not you.
Not me.
I'll go. I mean, it's, in my opinion, it's pretty easy, and it's Justin Jefferson.
Agreed.
So I
It's
will
hard to
hand
argue.
it. Yeah, it's Justin.
So
Jefferson.
we're doing PPR.
Yeah, PPR. Yeah, if we're going any sort of PPR type of league, if it's a standard league, I would honestly highly consider Bijan 101.
Whoa, you're still gonna. It's gonna come back to you. You'll get another pick.
Yeah.
What about
if it
half
was a
PPR? Half PPR? You're gonna go
standard-
Bijan over.
Any type of PPR, I'll go Jefferson.
What if it's half PPR and you get a half point for first downs?
I'm still going Jefferson.
Okay. I'm just trying to see what extent. What? AJ, it's your call.
I've been
You're the
trying.
sandwich.
I've been trying to, one thing that I always do when it comes to fantasy is be a real prick to myself about not just folding into, recency. And the more I try to do that, the more I just keep putting myself back in a circle. I think that it's not even a name that, finished completely tops either. But I just think when it comes to Dynasty 101 or 102 in this case, that it's Jamar Chase for me.
Jesus, you could have saved us 50 seconds there.
I could have.
Dude, you're the poker guy on Poker After Dark right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's check or raise, damn it.
Yeah, I honestly thought he might have thrown us for a curveball and was going to still say even though
I was say Jonathan Taylor.
That was who I was thinking of. Yeah.
Actually, I thought he was going to go full curveball. Even though it's one QB, just going I'm still going to take Patrick Mahomes.
No, none of that. None of that. Yeah. I mean, the hip injury, I think is kind of didn't suppress. Everybody knows who Jamar Chase is, but I mean, I don't think there's any issue with saying if it was Jefferson that fractured his hip and Chase played the full 17 games, how far off would they be?
Not far.
Not far.
The only differential between Chase and Jefferson for me is that Chase has T. Higgins. That's it. There's literally nothing else. And T. Higgins might not even be an impediment to me. That puts me at the 103. And I'm going to assume I get this back-to-back here, 103, 104. Oof. I mean, it's so. All right, I'll go Bijan, and that's me being peer pressured and succumbing to just where his valuation is right now is just. I don't agree with it. I would take the package, but you gotta look at the market at least at this point in time. And like JL said, he's arguably the 101, which is kind of crazy. Is someone dying?
It's the kids upstairs. they're wrestling up on the couch.
Fuck. 104 is really tough here, and wow. I'm trying to think how crazy I'm gonna get here. It's not Kyle Pitts, in case anyone's wondering.
Okay.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to go Breece Hall. I'm going to take Breece Hall there. I don't think that's what I think his value is. I don't think he goes at the 104, but I'm going to bank on it. I think I'll trade in even if I got to trade in 10 games next year in a dynasty format, I think he's that level of guy.
I agree. I think what was it, like maybe 6 or 7 months ago? I said something in the chat. I said, if you combine the 2021 class, 2022 class, and the 2023 class, that I would take Breece Hall ahead of every running back not named Bijan Robinson. And I think at that time when I said it, it was a little bit hot takey. But once we saw him on the field, everybody realized
that guy.
He's that dude. He's that dude. He's got some Nick Chubb to him where he can just take a crease and he can go 50 and house it. And
I don't think. Well, no, you're saying. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah, he has enough also chops in the passing game to be effective there too. And I saw all of that. I don't want to say I saw all of that necessarily on tape. I didn't necessarily think it would translate as well as it did. But what you saw on tape from college translated to the NFL. Same kind of deal. And he got better. That was the other thing that I think people didn't realize. He got better between his senior year or junior year, whatever it was at Iowa State, to when he was with the Jets.
There's a reason they were 7-2 with him as the offense. Just period. He controlled the game. AJ, it's yours. 105.
In a similar vein, in a similar class, even. I think from what I've seen this year, there's a reason why I say I'm not going to pay for Kenneth Walker, because the hype is that fucking real. This is when you need to get him, is at the top of a startup. I think as a runner, when he was coming out, I feel like it was unfairly kind of swept under the rug a little bit, having Breece go in front of you, stuff in Seattle was kind of wishy-washy at that point. But just, he's in a perfect situation to be the lead dog in that scheme. And the way he changes direction when he runs is definitely in a rare air when it comes to, a lot of these running backs are a dime a dozen. You have your big bulky guys and whatnot. The way he can just shift and break off big runs, there's only a handful of guys in the league that can do it like he can. And if you don't know that you're looking at that, you're probably going to have him further down the rankings. But when it comes to, my top guys are off the board and I'm looking for that young nucleus, most valuable pick, it's going to be Kenneth Walker every time.
That's a hell of a choice there. Just before JL jumps in, best place to grab Kenneth Walker in this last year of startups was Devy drafts, where your boy got him in the 7th round.
Damn.
Wow.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it was completely ridiculous. There was some stuff, to be fair, but it's whenever you hear someone's not a pass catcher and they go to Pete Carroll, I'm like,
it blew my mind.
I've seen literally everybody catch passes for him.
Breece Hall went at like the 112, and then I got KW at 703, and I was just like,
right.
I was trying to trade up for him, and I couldn't get there, and I was just like, oh, he just fell. That was great.
Wow. That's amazing, Colin. I missed a little on Kenneth Walker. Not that I didn't think I had him as my 1-2. Don't get me wrong, but I thought there was a very, very big tier gap between Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, and it was because, like AJ was saying, he moves and cuts different. And so it's hard when you're watching when I was watching his film, I'm not an expert film watcher, but it's hard to really see, like, well, is he getting away with that because it's in college, or is he really just that fast? And then he ran a 4.39 at the combine, and I was still a little sketch. I was like,
even on the fast track.
Yeah, even on the fast track. I was like, he was on the fast track. I don't know. I just don't
look
know.
Legit now.
Yeah, and now you see it. He makes a cut and he can hit the edge, and guys just can't catch him.
Yeah, he
And
runs angry. I like him a lot. You got the 106 and 107, bud.
okay, so I'm gonna probably go a little bit chalky here, but maybe one of them is not. But I'm gonna take Kyle Pitts.
Oh,
I still believe he is a unicorn.
oh!
Is it tight end premium or
I
is it
guess
just
we'll have to save JL here. It's
No. I'll put it this way: if it's even just full PPR, I would consider him here.
no premium? Shit.
No premium.
you better hope FTB doesn't watch this because you could probably buy him. You better hope he doesn't watch it.
And here's the thing: I still think he's super young. He's proven it already in the NFL, and I don't think Arthur Smith is that. Everybody's like, oh well, he's going to be in his scheme. I don't think Arthur Smith is that bad towards the tight end. I just think he had Marcus Mariota at quarterback, and he said, "There's no way in hell I'm throwing the ball 30 times a game." He's like, "I'm going to throw the ball 18 to 24 times a game, and that's how I'm going to run my offense because I am not letting this guy do it." So I think once he gets a quarterback that he feels he can throw 30 times a game, he will.
So like I was before he got hurt, I don't know if you guys, sometimes I scream into the void in our league, but I was definitely seeing on tape where Pitts was just wide open, like I could hit him, and I can't even see over the fucking line, but I would still I would do the Stafford to Megatron. Fucking Kyle Pitts is down there somewhere.
Yes.
And we'll see about Ritter. I think Ritter is better than I thought he was. Doesn't mean that he's good. I think Atlanta is a player for quarterbacks. I mean, wink, wink, Lamar Jackson. Can't count them out for Lamar because they were in on Watson. So
yeah,
that's true.
And so that would be interesting. You do have the 107 though.
And I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb.
Wow. Now I can post. Ben is incredulous that we didn't go Javonte there, but we have opinions on opinions on Javonte Williams, and we don't like his knee injury.
I am only in on devastating knee injuries to running backs if they are elite athletes.
Dun dun dun.
AKA
we're willing to make exceptions.
Not that. Javonte was he's a very good running back. I liked him probably as much as anyone. And he got that knee injury, and I said it's not going to go well for him. You're seeing, Saquon even had issues with it, but Saquon still looked very, very, very good after his knee injury.
Sure.
And you just see like the elite run, Adrian Peterson, he got it. He came back. He was fine. Jamal Charles, I know some people forget about it. He had it. He came back. He was fine.
Yeah.
Saquon, he's come back. Did it take a couple years? Yeah, but I don't think the couple years really were indicative just of the knee. I think he had a rash of injuries and just a stroke of luck. But he's all the way back.
I think I would like this better if you took CD in front of Pitts.
Okay, maybe I would, but if I was in a PPR league, like I said, and I had Lamb, I would highly consider making the trade for Pitts.
I don't think Javonte is the play here. Sorry, Ben. I would take both CD and Pitts over Javonte here.
I think it's also just worth noting that Pitts, whether fairly or unfairly, does carry that baggage of being a tight end when that's really not doing justice of what he does on the field. If you're not watching the Falcons when he's on the field, you're missing what Kyle Pitts is. For all intents and purposes, he's a wide receiver, and not even just like in the possession wide receiver, like you have your Zach Ertz, your Mike Gesicki, the pure pass catching tight ends. He's lining up outside and squaring up and running goes on straight up corners, press man, and he is winning. Yep. That's the type of beast. It's to the point where there's a very paranoid argument you can make where Sleeper might actually one day take away his tight end eligibility if for some reason his what?
No, sorry. I shouldn't have been. My bad. I was going to say Taysom Hill, but.
Yeah. No, not Taysom Hill. But like that's to the effect of like he is for all intents and purposes a wide receiver, and he was in the same conversation as Jamar Chase at that point in that draft, and he's just as talented. So I mean, I do understand sticking your neck out. It's rough recency bias wise, but I do understand it.
And now you're up.
And now I'm up. So
in your delegation, who do you pick? The Daniel Dimes delegation selects Triple D.
I think it's an easy one, but I'm gonna hold my tongue.
Yeah, I mean, so this is Dynasty, so that that makes you have certain decisions without getting.
Please don't take my guy.
No, I don't think I will. I think for me personally, it might be a little bit of a reach, but at this point, I would go AJ Brown.
Okay.
I think it's I don't think it's a stretch to. Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't think it was a stretch to say he's a pretty big deal. I paid very close attention to the teams that the wide receivers that left their teams and the aftermath at that team, and like I can't say anything else about AJ Brown. The things that I thought would keep him from being in this tier, he proved me wrong. He was way more vertical this year than he ever was in Tennessee. I thought that, he would kind of, like be the big body underneath, but strictly be forced to run, deep digs and unders and stuff like that and really come under. He was really, there were a number of games where he's just taking straight go balls and winning. And that's all else I needed to see. He's just underneath that Chase Jefferson tier for me as a wide receiver.
JL, you got anything on it?
No, that was the one I was going to say. I had debates about whether, yes, it was. And I had debates about whether I would take Lamb or AJ Brown. If you're talking purely maybe the next year or who's maybe a better wide receiver, I think AJ Brown is a cut above even Lamb in terms of a wide receiver.
He doesn't take enough hospital passes for you. That's what it is.
Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah.
You guys know
no alligator arms there.
Yeah. Although Lamb did catch one versus the Buccaneers, if you saw it, he took one where he actually crossed the face of the safety for I think it's the second time in 5 weeks I've seen him do it.
Was it Winfield or like a fourth string safety? Because if it was a fourth string safety, I'm not impressed.
I'm not sure who it was. I actually think it was a corner that was sitting, and I say cross the face of the safety, but cross the face of the defender. And he made a great catch. But I'm only taking Lamb ahead of him in startup just because I believe AJ Brown's already he's a little bit older. He's 26, I think.
Oh no.
And I know that's not, but it's an extra 3 years from Lamb. And
sure.
I don't although Dallas is going to probably bring in somebody to kind of pair with Lamb, I don't think they're going to bring in anybody that's a big target threat for him. It's going to be more of a vertical receiver and that kind of deal. And I mean, if they do, great, but if not, but what I project Jerry to do is more, he's going to want to take a speed guy and he's going to be a guy that gets maybe 80 to 90 targets, not another guy that's going to command 120 or 130 like, say, Amari Cooper did.
I'm going CMC at the 109. He's still young enough that, I'm not concerned. He's in San Francisco with Shanahan. He's not going anywhere. They didn't trade all those picks not to keep him. To be honest with you, I probably would take CMC based on the guys ahead here, I would take CMC over Kenneth Walker, and you guys can roast me for it. I just give me the 3 years of top 5 overall right now, even in a dynasty format. I think he's arguably the most valuable player over the last half of the season, non-quarterback division, obviously. The biggest thing we've had with CMC is he's traded those 10 catch games for touchdowns. So give me that moving forward. I know people will be like, oh, age, running back, health. I actually like the San Francisco fit because he's not going to, much like we talked about Travis Kelce, where it's like he's not a complete game pitcher anymore. He's a 7-inning guy, but those 7 innings are shut out. I think that's what we're going to see with CMC. He does have an Elijah Mitchell to take 10 carries from him to preserve his body, which I think will lead to more explosive plays. I just love the fit. At the 110, this is kind of where it gets dicey. So like I was hoping to have AJ Brown here, I think. But I do have a little bit of concerns with AJ Brown, and the main concern is just I think I really like Devontae Smith a lot. At the 110, I'm scared to say it. I just
Do it.
Oof.
Well, there's somebody here missing that we haven't said that I thought you were going to go.
Instead of CMC? I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. I'm kind of drawing a blank. I guess we'll throw in Ben's comment here. I'm not taking him right here, but Ben's asking about Waddle. Who am I drawing a blank on here? North, south. I'm going to just call the time. I'm going to go ETN. And I know I'm drawing a blank on someone. I'm going to go Travis Etienne here.
I would have said Jonathan Taylor for me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Taylor. Yeah, definitely Taylor's the pick, but you could take him.
Yeah. Also, like, I always like talking about it with CMC. He's one of the few guys, like we talk about unicorns.
I would take Taylor over CMC as well. My bad, guys.
Would you? Okay. Right.
Yeah. But no, it's your pick. I'm just saying I would take him over CMC.
Yeah. I always like to think of like the things that you don't necessarily think of. And I think that when it comes to CMC, he might actually have more leash long-term than your average running back. When we think about Cliff and you drop off and that's it. I don't think he's going to be like a Woodhead or like a James White type in his twilight. I think he actually has the skill set and the situation now, especially to transition to a pure slot wide receiver. And it's something that I just keep in the back of my mind as a CMC dynasty owner.
Sure.
When you are afraid of holding on and embracing for that fall, it might actually be, on the table. Who knows? Yeah. Just something to think about. So you have CMC and Taylor off the board, or is it
ETN?
CMC?
I took ETN. I got to stick to it. I can't back off now.
So I would take
you took.
I would take Jonathan Taylor here. If you had taken it, I wouldn't have taken ETN. He's a good player, but I just think we're in that tier right now where it's like I just want like the sexy upside, even if it's not necessarily, my favorite thing. So there would
JL's getting a hard on. I can't wait to hear his pick.
So I mean, there's a lot of guys in this.
He's like, I can't believe these fucking guys didn't take him.
No. Actually, I think my pick. It's between two guys, but we'll see who AJ's talking about.
Yeah, no, I would right here. It would probably be one of those last, volume hog running backs. So it would be between, a couple guys here. If JT is off, then I would probably pick, I think Saquon.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought the 112. I had Saquon penciled in the 112.
Yeah, I mean, same conversation with CMC, but I mean, we saw he's back. He's back for real. He is the focal point of this offense. We can talk about Daniel Jones all we want, but Brian Daboll knew that this is going to be the plan A, B, and C, and he executed it to perfection. He's back.
The only qualm I have about Saquon and why I would go CMC, I think I would take I think ETN is probably the cutoff for me on what I would take over Saquon is purely on I don't know where he will be next year. And I know everyone's going to be like, he has to be a Giant, but
he doesn't.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just knowing historically where Joe Shane comes from, how Brian Daboll operates, and they've also given themselves latitude. Look, no coach goes into a season thinking that, oh, I'm gonna, take a step back. But they've bought themselves 3 years with this playoff win. So
I could easily see piggyback on. I could easily see Daboll saying, "Well, if Saquon's going to ask for, I don't know, let's say he asks for 20 million a year, and Daniel Jones asks for
30,
and they say we're going to have to make a choice. They say
that's a quarter of your cap.
Exactly. And they just say, yeah, Joe Shane and Daboll get together and they say, we'll try to sign Tony Pollard for 12 a year.
I think they could transition tag Saquon.
Potentially.
Because you get 2 ones for that, right? You get 2 ones for the transition. And then if not, it effectively turns into a franchise where they get him on a 1 year.
It's very rarely done these days. It's very rarely done these days, though. I think it's because of I actually forget the specific reason why. I remember reading an article about it, but the transition tag in general just is not exercised very much at all these days. So I would have to look into that.
Yeah, I think the Patriots were the last team to do it. That's why it kind of popped in my head where I think that they'll do something to that effect with those guys where they have a certain price. And if someone else is willing to pay that and they could get draft compensation back, I think they'll do that. More so with Saquon than Dimes. I don't know how you really get rid of Dimes here. And I was of the opinion that you should have given him the 5th-year option. I didn't agree with the whole prove it thing because I just didn't either you're gonna roll with him or you're not, to me. And I thought the 5th-year option would have insulated them a little bit. But hey, they made their choice. Now, I mean, do you think they franchise Dimes or they franchise Saquon?
I think the responsible thing would be to let Saquon go. But
oh my God, New York would
riot. I do understand if you think
lost Odell and then Saquon.
Yeah, I know. Shouldn't have had him in the first place, but that's another story. I do understand the mindset of both of these guys are high risk acquisitions, but only one of them is a blue chip. Right. And if it means getting us to a better place over that 3 years, whereas Daniel Jones, has played better. But if you don't think he's the long term, I think I could understand using the franchise tag on the dude in the offense.
Yeah. All right. Last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. I appreciate you guys making time, and you guys got offspring that I do not have. So, is there a spot that Saquon could end up in that vaults him to the 101? And if so, where is that place?
Let me look at teams.
Assuming that they would actually sign him, and I don't think it's possible. I don't think but Miami would be one where I would consider it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
think, yeah. And in a similar vein, it's been poked at a lot over the years. Miami makes more sense now than it has in a long time, but I would stay in the same division and say Buffalo. Them bringing in James Cook, they want Josh Allen to. That was the whole Isaiah McKenzie experiment, the James Cook thing. Like, they want him to just dump it off more often, and he does. But when you have, like, could you imagine trying to defend? That's exactly the same scenario that you would have in what's it called with the Niners. Like, how do you match up against that offense? And oh, by the way, there's a Josh Allen behind there, not a Brock Purdy.
The low hanging fruit is Kansas City. I'm not going to say that though. I'm going to go wild card here. I'm going to say Detroit.
Good Lord. Much to JL's chagrin. Poor Swift.
I know. It would kill Swift.
I think Swift's dead. Let me be very clear. I think it's pretty clear that he's not the guy there. And I think Saquon would be everything that we were hoping Swift would be. And that would be an epic move by Detroit.
That would. Well, what about this? What if they traded? What if the Giants said, they tag Saquon or whatever they do, and then they trade him to the Lions for
Swift?
Let's say Swift and a second.
I'm just looking at, he's in a dome, fast truck. I mean, speed plays up. He's going to get the ball. He has Jamal Williams to kind of like protect him from 400 carry seasons, which everybody looks at that like as a bad thing. I now look at it as a good thing. It is now the NFL, and you want your guys to have protection there. Yeah, man, I think Detroit would be a spot where I'd be like, damn, he might be the 101 there. The only other free agent running back that I think could maybe vault in the right situation, I don't even think he'd vault into the first round, maybe, would be Cook. Cook quietly stayed healthy the whole season, and I think in the right situation, I don't think he's getting enough talk about. I don't think he's going to be a Viking next year. I don't know where he goes, but who knows?
Yeah. Did JL make his last pick for the startup? You
Saquon.
had 9.
He took Saquon.
Oh no, I picked Saquon.
No, you have Taylor. Oh, you were saying Saquon if Taylor was okay. So we're pretending ETN's off the board.
Okay, so let's say ETN's off the board. You took JT. So the two guys it would be between, because that's what I expected. Well, I didn't expect ETN, but I expected JT to be off the board.
It was wrong. I panicked.
Yeah, the two guys it would be between me and JT, you're going to get a hard on for this one. It would be between Garrett Wilson.
I hate Garrett Wilson because I was wrong about him.
And the other one, I think it'll be a little spicier. I know we talked about him earlier, but it would be between Mark Andrews.
Okay.
So,
I don't think Andrews is that spicy. But those are two excellent picks. I mean, I was positing in Gen Chat is Wilson a second round startup, and you guys were like, he's there already.
Yeah. Yeah, and I listed off the names, and it was like, oh yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like there's like 15 to 20 guys. I think you can make some arguments and a roster contingency. But if you're in a startup and you're building, there's really only about 15 to 20 guys that you say, yeah, I'm taking him ahead of Garrett Wilson.
All right. Well, what I wanted
to talk about all the rest of the guys in that class, because I feel really good about, Olave. I feel good about London. I feel good about all of them. And
whoever gets the quarterback is who jumps to number one to me.
Agreed.
So what I wanted to do with that is just to end each podcast with doing a round. So should we drop ETN from the rankings? Or should we just leave it? Or should we leave it?
No, we can leave it.
All right.
I don't care. I don't care.
So, like,
I
what
just,
I'm saying is the next pod we'll do round 2 with these guys off the board.
I would say just leave it as such because I think
Yeah.
where you took him is not asinine whatsoever. He could very well be a top 5 running back next year.
It's meant to be blind, and so we can go back and be like, perception was wrong here.
He's anchored to Trevor Lawrence, and if you're expecting a jump from him, you're expecting more opportunities.
I like Dougie P.
Exactly.
That's why I'm on ETN harder than most there. But all right, well, we're at 2.5 hours here, which is a lot longer than I was thinking. Much love. I appreciate you guys. We're gonna do this more and more. It won't be 2.5 hours every time. I will spare you guys that kind of commitment. But yeah, thanks for tuning in for everybody. We got up to 9. We almost got to 10. That'll be the goal next time. But until then, deuces.
Take it easy.